Right. So if we, understand the in and out of it, then we can start to gradually build up speed on what it is, why we are doing what we are doing, so that, we are going to need to solve different problems with it. But when you understand the reason behind certain actions, you would know what to do with any sort of challenge that comes your way, any sort of data challenge that comes your way. That's where we said we should go and start to build from. And so I've made a bit of a slide together for introduction. And then however much of it we are able to cover, then we'll start to, build from scratch doing our own demo. This demo is not supposed to be here. So what is Power BI? And the definition of it is right there, a collection of tools, apps, software, that allows us to get fast and easy access to our data, to analyze and visualize our data for insights, and also to collaborate within the organization. Say you are finished making or building your report, you want to show it to your stakeholders or those that it concerns. So that is what Power BI is. It helps you to experience your data, anywhere you want to experience it at any time and on any device. And here's the ecosystem within the Power BI. There are four main components of Power BI. We've got the desktop, which we've been interacting with. It's the common one. It's free to download. There are different versions of it, but quite easily downloaded or downloadable. It's on app stores. It's on Microsoft website itself. Quite really popular out there. And this is the one that we use to actually create our reports and do all the, the actual getting your hands dirty. This is the one that helps us to do that. And how to get it, I've already said we can get it from, there was a link that was shared. We can get from app stores, and it's always needing, you see, they update it a lot. Listening to people, feedbacks from people, and always bringing on new updates that help us to easily to use it or interact with it easier by each version. And then we've got the Power BI service, which Mr. Azim showed us, I think at some point last week. So once we have created the report on the desktop, we publish it to the online service. And there are two different versions of it. This is the cloud version of things. But there are some businesses that they are not on cloud yet, or they'd rather have their reports within their own intranet, So those ones, they use the Power BI report service. But generally, it's the Power BI service where we publish reports to, and then we can easily share within the organization. And this is what it sort of looks like. And then we've got the mobile service. Once you have published, it can be viewed on any device, really, be it Android, Windows, platforms. Please mute if you are not talking. So that's the mobile version of it. Helps us to view. Sometimes you don't have your laptop with you. Maybe you're going about with your tablet or your phone. You can easily get updates about reports that have been published by your organization from the online service on your mobile app, And there is a Power BI for developers. This is used by businesses who like to configure their own Power BI to their own needs. They want to do it their way. They want to, do stuff like embed their reporting in their own intranet. They can build their own custom visuals. And maybe those, how we click on get data to get our data from different sources. Some places of work don't really have their data source listed within that Power BI as many as it is. They don't have it. So they can easily build their own custom connectors to their data source for those who opt for Power BI developers. And then the Power BI workflow is talking about, how we say, okay, the three main components of Power BI desktop, which is the first, most popular part of the Power BI's Power BI in total, the Power BI group of the tools that we use. Words failed me there. So within the Power BI desktop, we've got the Power Query, which allows us to get our data. It's like the door. If Power BI was a house, this is a door where data gets to get in, people get to walk in this case, data. Then we've got the Power Pivot, which talks about the relationship. We'll talk more about each one of them. And then we've got the Power View, within the Power BI desktop. Right. What is Power Query? This is the one that helps us to extract, transform, and load our data from source. And it helps to perform different transformations. If you want to maybe add additional column, maybe like we normally get, we've got 2 columns already within our data set where we have unit quantity, price per unit quantity, and number of quantities that were bought or sold. And we need to create an additional column where we calculate our sales amount. We can easily do that within Power Query. We can change our data types. We can rename columns. General cleaning, exploring, and enhancing your data happens within the Power Query. I believe this is where we are going to be spending most of the time when we start to really get our hands dirty. This is just further explanation on Power Query. And this is just a graphical representation. So we plug Power Query into whatever data source, maybe be it Excel, be it SQL database, be it online, any online, any website, any data source at all that is listed there. We get it through Power Query, do all sort of work that we need to do and load it. Well, I see there's Excel tables there because I snipped this from an Excel teaching, but in our own case, it will be loaded into Power BI, not Excel table. So apologies and pardon me for that oversight there. So what else is that? The next one. And now the Power Pivot. You know how we said within the desktop, the Power BI desktop, we've got the Power Query, we've got the Power Pivot and the Power View. Now the Power Pivot is the one that the major work of it is this number 3 here. Is the one that actually creates relationships between your table. As we can see in this small snip here, we can see how there's connection between different tables there, these 2 tables. So that is what the Power Pivot, it goes into your data set, into each table, and see where there is a link between each one and how it can help you, to connect in a way that it believes that it will be useful to you. Of course, you can always rearrange your relationship if it's not been done by Power BI to your own taste. And then we've got the Power View, where you view your dashboards, that Canva, where you view, understand, analyze, see, how different elements from different tables after relationships have been done, how you can pick maybe total sales from one table, maybe your sales table, and pick maybe years of sales from the date table that you have also created, because there's a relationship between them. You can pick those two and view them in any kind of visual, any kind of chart, line charts, bar, column charts, pie or donut chart, whatever chart. So you can easily see at a glance how your data is performing. There was something I didn't mention about Power Pivot. It is a relationship creating that helps to actually make DAX calculation within Power BI easy, effective. DAX, which is data analysis expression, really does relies on the type of relationship that you have created within your Power Pivot. And this is exactly what we mean by data modeling as well, this relationship, So for you to get the right type of calculation out, your relationship really, your DAX rather, really relies on the type of relationship that you have formed there. So these three together, that is the Power Query, the Power Pivot, and the Power View, they are what help you to clean your data, get the data, clean it, and analyze it, then visualize it. Once all of this has been done, I mean, it takes time. It depends on what you are trying to do with your data set and how dirty or how well organized or how structured your data set is already, So once all of that first part of things have been done, all things being equal, you do not have to repeat all of that process all over again when you get an update in your data set. Say maybe when you created your report, the data set was up to 2023. In terms of maybe your sales report was up to 2023. As long as Power Query still has access to that source, where the data set originally was, as long as it's plugged in, you just need to come into your desktop and refresh. For any 2024, maybe January, February data that starts pulling through will just automatically get created within seconds. So we say that the process every step you have taken to get to that point has already been automated for you by Power BI. And that's one of the beauties of Power BI, apart from the fact that there's a lot of visuals that you can get, different custom visuals, not just the default ones that we see within Power BI itself alone, but you can go into Power BI, get more visuals, which we'll see all of them, and get the exact type of visual that you really desire if none of the default ones are really, making sense to you at that point. Then we've got the Power BI. So all of the talk so far was about Power BI desktop, and it's really important because one, that is what most of us have access to. Two, that is where most of the work, all of the initial work happens, before we start to talk about publishing into the Power BI online service, And now in the Power BI online service, we've got two versions of it. We've got the Power BI online, the one that we were shown, the one that's in the cloud. And then we've got the Power BI report service, which is customized for companies that are not in the cloud and they just want their report within their own space, So of course, there's limitations to that for them. But yeah, it is what it is. Everybody wants what they want, And the components of a Power BI service generally are the app workspaces, where when you publish, it tells you which workspace do you want to publish your report to, You've got the default one, which is the My Workspace. My Workspace, everyone has it. It's your own personal space, which no one else would see. So you might want to publish into that, or maybe there are other workspaces that have been created. Maybe the ones, you know, for the team that will be viewing the report, you know, then you would need to publish into there. So the app workspace is the container where you quote and unquote dump your report when it's published. Then we've got the data sets that your report is connected to. The connection also, you know, gets communicated here. We've got the report that you bring in, and we've got what we call the dashboard. I believe Mr. Azim showed us that the dashboard, the difference between dashboard and reports, you know. But this is just an overview. As we build from the scratch, we'll you know, see how all of these work. And I just hope we'll remember to say when we get there that, okay, remember when we said this is what this is. Practically, this is where we are there now. So we can connect this theoretical knowledge, you know, to the practical side of things when we get to that stage. And that is it really for introduction to what Power BI is. Do we have any questions at this point? Any questions?
Yeah. Yes, please. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My question is not really pertaining to the theoretical part.
Okay. Right. So this is some work that had been done, and we've got some DAX calculations within. So I'm just going to open one up. Immediately I clicked on that. First, you know, we can see this calculator icon. It tells us that it was, you know, calculated, like you know, something to show that there was a calculation that went on. Now, DAX, the full DAX is DAX, X for xylophone. And the full meaning of it is data analysis expression, you know. And it's, if I'm to liken it to what we do in Excel, it's like just like the Excel functions where you say equals sum because you want to sum up maybe 2 columns, you know, or equals whatever function you want to call up. Please mute if you are not talking. Whatever function you want to call up in Excel, it's just very similar, you know. So, and we've got different expressions, different formulas. It depends on, again, it depends on what you are trying to achieve. I'm just looking for something that's really, okay, that's really quite easy to understand. For example, this table has got total costs within, so it's got, if I go into the data set itself, and I look for whichever one of these tables is it's not the customer data. Okay, let me click one, not the date table, dynamic segmentation, no location data. Okay, okay, sales data, sorry, that should have been so easy to know. So, and I've got, you see, on each row, I've got cost, you know. What DAX helps me to do is to calculate the total cost for each and, you know, for all of the rows that I've got here, and which is what had been done in the key measure table where I clicked on cost. So I've said, go and sum. I could have been just sum, just forget the X for now. That's taking it, like jumping before we can walk. If I go into what that sum X is talking about, let's just say we are looking at sum here. And I'm saying go into sum. Sum, when I said sum, it would have, like Excel will tell you, give you an argument. This is what you need to put in. This is what you need to put in. So in this case, it will tell you, okay, what table, in this case, what table are you trying to sum something from? And, I put this sales data table, and then it's asking, what exactly are you trying to sum, And here I'm saying, multiply sales cost by sales quantity, and just total all of that up for me to get total cost. It's just like maths, it's just like your simple maths for working out things, expressions that you are going to need, that is going to need to be used within the business requirement that you are trying to answer. And over time, as you build more on that data set, it starts to increase and improve, increase and expand, I meant to say. And like I said, as we start, we are going to really start small, like I'm saying total cost or total sum, just sum up all the cost in this, in a certain table for me, and then gradually, if we build up like that, we will understand why certain functions are important, why others are less used, and it depends on the industry as well. We can see here, there are some cumulative sales last year, and different, measures like that, especially here, last sales amount. I'm saying calculate the total sales for me, and go to the last non-blank date in the date table. I want to get total sales out. So it will go to the last sales, it will help get out the last sales amount on that data where the date is not blank, it will get it out. Profit margin, I want you to divide total profit by total sales, and, that's just an optional argument. If there is no answer, or if it's blank or whatever, put 0 there. That's the meaning of that last 0, total county, just count all the counties there for me, total customer, distinct count, don't count one customer twice. That's the meaning of distinct count. If you see a customer appear there like 10 times, the same customer, just count that person once for me. And because I want to know how many customers appear in this data set, and it goes on and on and on like that. Total products, just go and count the number of products that were sold within this data set, So that is what DAX is. And the reason we do it, sometimes you will say, all these things are within sales data already. Why don't we just rely on them within the sales data? You see, because we have created this relationship. We have sort of brought out, okay, location data has been brought out as a lookup table. Product data has been brought out, So we need our calculations to sort of be able to communicate with all of the tables at different levels. Now, DAX calculations, they work like that. Excuse me. That's how DAX calculations work. They are so flexible, so dynamic. They flow within all of these tables. So if I want to get cumulative sales by customer, this would communicate easily with that. That's whatever that DAX measure I have built within here can easily be used with every other table, as long as those tables are communicating as well with the source data. I hope that sort of answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.